Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Get Plugged podcast. If this is your first time here, I am LaShawn Davis. I am your host, the founder and CEO of the HR Plug, who powers this podcast. And the whole intention behind why we do this podcast is to educate and provide access to people so that they understand the tools and resources necessary to thrive in the workplace, which sums up what we will be talking about today, which is toxic work environments. I know we hear that phrase often, and I know a lot of people say they've been subjected to a toxic work environment. I just thought it would be a good idea to connect with someone who actually not only experienced a toxic work environment, but also managed to escape their situation, overcome, and restart her journey. And so she is with us tonight, Krystal Anderson. And in a moment, we will have her out. But before we do, you know how we do. We are going to have some brief announcements. And I'm going to have you guys check in with me in the chat. Let me know you're here, where you're joining us from, and keep engaged throughout the conversation. If you have any questions about toxic work environments, start thinking about what questions you have so that we can be prepared to answer them, and you walk away from this podcast informed of how to navigate through your particular situation. So as we go through these announcements, start thinking about your questions. Type them in the chat. Let us know that you're here supporting, watching, and where you're from so that we can make sure that we shout you out. As far as our announcement go, you guys just saw the trailer for Unplug, and we are still planning for an amazing event right in Atlanta, Georgia, March 30th through April 1st. It's the Unplug Conference. And this conference, just so everyone is aware, is dedicated to HR professionals because we are tired. Everything that's been happening in the workplace over the past few years has definitely taken a toll on our industry. And so the conference allows you to connect with a community of HR professionals so that you can learn from one another what others are doing in their areas and get refueled from industry experts who are prepared to talk to you about boundaries, teach you about workplace wellness, and how to be more impactful and intentional about putting yourself first. A lot of times in HR, we're so busy taking care of everybody else that we neglect ourselves. But my favorite phrase is, it's impossible to pour from an empty cup. Come get refueled at Unplug. We have a phenomenal lineup of speakers. We're going to be starting next week having our speakers on the podcast share a little bit about their topics, their areas of interest in ways that could also help you. So be sure to start tuning in because we're going to be talking a lot more about HR and shedding some light on what's happening with this industry. Also, I want to remind you guys about the Black Successful Creators Series. This is something that JP High Tech is hosting, and I was a part of, actually. It is a phenomenal series that highlights successful Black creators in honor of Black History Month. And it's interesting because one of the questions that I was asked during this interview was about Black History Month is, what does it mean to me being a Black woman in America celebrating Black history? And I was caught off guard a little bit by that question because I celebrate Black History daily, and I don't confine it to a month because I take the time to acknowledge the people who did what they did to fight so that I can have the freedoms that I have today. And that's what empowers me to do what I do here on the HR Plug, so that I can fight and advocate for employees in the workplace so that they understand how to operate freely and control their workplace culture. So this was a phenomenal series. If you missed it, don't forget to go and check it out. I think there are 3 episodes left. My particular episode was yesterday. So if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll be able to catch the replay of when I discussed what it takes to step out in faith. And in watching that, you'll understand what my journey was to get here to the HR Plug and how we're doing so far and how I continue pushing despite obstacles or objectives that come my way. Because being an advocate is always, as you know, or an activist, not an easy task. There are going to be people who try to talk you out of it or make you feel like it's something you shouldn't be doing. So we're going to be So make sure you go to the YouTube channel, check this out. It's the replay. Again, it's on my YouTube channel, the HR Plug. And hear about my story and my journey. I also want to remind you all that this podcast is also available audibly. So wherever you listen to your favorite podcast episodes or shows, be sure to tune in there as well, whether you're tuning in through us through one of those means, or if you're watching us on YouTube live. I just want to appreciate you for tuning in and connecting with me through this avenue, because it means so much when I get the feedback that you guys enjoyed something we discussed, you learned something from what was shared. So just make sure that you touch in, you check in audibly if you missed the live, because you can listen to us on your way to work, while you're working out, wherever or whenever you listen to podcasts. We're there as well. So be sure to tune in there. And I also want to remind you guys that as the HR plug, we have consultants available who will do a free 30-minute conversation with you. So if you are tackling a workplace problem, if you're even believing that you're in a toxic situation yourself, be sure to go to www.thehrplug.com. Over in the right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see a book a free consultation link. Click on that and make sure you book a consultation so that you're not suffering and you get some support. No one should have to be in their workplace a place that they dedicate hours to, feeling stuck, feeling mistreated, feeling devalued. If any of those resonate with you, and after this episode, if anything we talk about tonight resonates with you, be sure that you book your free consultation so that we can help navigate you through your situation and that you have a healthy career journey. So again, if you're watching, be sure to tune in and chat with us. Let us know that you're here. Let us know that where you're from, and drop in any questions that you may have as they come up. So tonight our guest is Krystal Anderson. Krystal hails as a teacher, and let me tell you guys how I discovered her. I discovered Krystal because I have a cousin who actually has a YouTube page, and she's a teacher. And on her page, she just does a lot of inspirational things to support teachers in getting ready for the classroom or whatever they're doing to start their day. So I was watching her YouTube show, and Krystal's video, because she also has a YouTube channel, just was in Watch Next or something crazy like that. And it was about toxic positivity, and that really captured my attention. And so then I looked at her page, and she's had these videos about being in a toxic work environment and how she overcame that. So I invited her to the show because after watching her videos and even having a conversation with Krystal, she definitely has an experience that I could relate to. So I knew certainly that people watching this show or listening to this show could relate to as well. So I asked Krystal, would she mind coming to school us, being the teacher that she is, on her experience, and she gladly accepted. So we are very honored and delighted to have Krystal here with us, and we are going to invite her in. Hi, Krystal. How are you?
Hey, LaShawn. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you again for joining us tonight. We have some people, that have commented. We have T. Cedric here that says she's awesome. He's your birthday twin. When's your birthday, Krystal?
December 2nd. That's my old co-worker. We work together. We taught kindergarten together, actually.
Okay, Mr. T. Cedric, you have patience teaching the kindergarten children out there. And so we have, Rose saying hi, Krystal, in the house. We have people that are excited about this episode, thinking that it is awesome. And so we're just excited to talk to you and chat with you about overcoming a toxic workplace. So tell us, Krystal, a little bit about you. Who is Krystal Anderson? Let's get to learn you a little bit more.
So I am a Southern girl from Alabama, born and raised. I went to college in Alabama, went to school in Georgia, or taught school, I'm sorry. Taught school in Georgia. That's where I began my teaching journey. And then I met my husband and ended up in Arkansas. So that's where I am now. Currently, I teach. I also have some side hustles that I enjoy doing. Content creator. So I love encouraging people. That's my thing. So that's a little bit about me.
Look, I love your thing because that's our thing here too. We encourage, we educate, and we inspire. And that's why you were a perfect fit to be here with us tonight. So I just was very surprised to see because you hear toxic work environments happening in more of a corporate setting, right? Like people that are in corporations or in the public sector, not necessarily. I'm sorry, in the private sector, not necessarily public or government. So when I saw you experience a toxic work environment as a teacher, y'all supposed to be taking care of people, not creating these types of environments. But I number one commend you for having a voice in such a space that there is not a lot of volume talking about this issue. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your story. And we have a lot of people who agree with that. We have Lametria saying, thank you, Krystal, for sharing your story. You got Angela on here. Yay, my little look. You got your little fan club out here. Krystal is an incredible educator. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. T. Cedric says you're the cricket queen. Okay, look. So, oh, because she's also creative from that space. I got you. The cricket, the actual designing tool, right? Okay. All right. Hello, Miss Quita. How are you today? Thank you so much for joining the show. So, Krystal, can you tell me a little bit about what grade were you teaching? Like, was this elementary school, middle school? A little bit about your teaching experience, and when did you realize that you were experiencing what started to feel like a toxic work environment?
Yes. So, in this experience, I was in my second year of teaching at this particular school, and I was excited. Like, first of all, I went into this mindset of thinking, like, okay, this is I think it's my 6th year teaching. I'm like, okay, I feel strong because they say, like, after 5 years or so, like, you know what you're doing. And I felt that, right? So I was like, okay, I've taught first grade before. I know what's going to go on. I got this. And little things started to happen. Things that started to change a lot, that they were like, okay, well, you're here. Mind you, I had just had surgery. And so, but me being the educator I am, I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go and go in, and I still gotta go decorate my classroom. Like, I gotta do what I gotta do. So getting on ladders, should not have been on a ladder. But either way, found out like within that next week, lost like one of my best friends who was going to be my teaching mate. They took her away. Then they also told me I had to move my whole classroom. So that's a big thing for teachers, like, because we put, especially elementary, we put our heart and soul into that. So I didn't think nothing of it. I still was positive. I was like, okay, that's a little thing. I got this, still rolling with it because I'm like, I love what I do. But then losing a teacher, guess what? That also means a bigger classroom. Because at first I had like a nice little set of like 15 kids, great, like 15, 17. That's ideal, especially for first grade. But then I end up having between 25 to 28 first graders. That's like actually like 60, really, just multiply it times 2. So, still, I was positive. I was like, you know what? Cool. I got this. I'm just going to go home tired every day. So, it just kept going. It just kept going. Little things kept happening. And I started speaking up for myself a little bit. Recognizing that this is not okay. So, from that point, I realized, okay, this something ain't right this year. Like, I don't think I am gonna be, in my head I was like, I'm gonna be teacher of the year. If I don't even get it, I'm gonna be teacher of the year. Then I was like, you know what, Krystal, I don't think it's set up for you to do this year. So I still gave my best to my students, and I still felt like it was never enough, ever.
Wow. And this was from the very beginning because you said you only taught for 2 years. So you had at this particular school. So you had just got back from surgery. So that's one thing I know about teachers. You guys are dedicated and committed because you lead with heart. You have to do what you do because, listen, I told Krystal, other people, kids, 5, 6, 7 years old. Look, I commend any teacher who can deal with that, let alone 28, of those. I couldn't even imagine. So already you're in an industry, and we all know, and now I'm not in your pockets, but teachers are not paid like the top dollar, right? So you're not doing this already because you're trying to be rich. You're doing this because you have a heart for students and education and growth. That heart got you doing what you shouldn't have been doing, not really recuperating, but in your classroom trying to get it right, only to be met with, well, we're going to move your whole class. You're getting a teacher taken away. Your class size is double. So it was little things that started trickling and happening to you. And that's what kind of raised the red flags for you.
Yes,
Wow.
I would have people come into my classroom to observe me for no strange reason. I would get observations. I was getting ones. I've never been a one. Like, even on my worst day, I will never be a one. Like, I mean, anybody that knows me knows that I love, you could be off. It's okay. But a 1 out of 4, like, that means I'm just sitting at my desk doing nothing. So
Wow.
I was being bullied, like, and that's what it was. Like, I was being bullied, and slowly started talking to other teachers. Right, there was a group of us being bullied, and it was just we were targeted. And
Wow.
then we started getting in trouble. They started realizing, listening on like the the speaker thing. They're like, y'all are meeting in rooms and talking after school. Oh no, y'all can't do that, because they realized we were putting 2 and 2 together. Like, what kind of life are
Wow.
we living?
Wow.
So it's things, but this is going on constantly. Like, what's happening to me is still going on. I'm pretty sure, probably worse, because teacher turnover at this particular
Mm-hmm.
institution happens. Like, roll up, like, just quitting, teachers just quitting. That's not natural. That's not okay for our students. Mind you, most of these students are brown, are black. They're black
Mm-hmm.
students who need consistency, who need teachers that are like
Mm.
me. But teachers that are like me, we realize our worth and we end up leaving.
Wow.
So,
Now that's deep. If they're leaving and they're committed to what we talked about earlier, there has to be a problem. And I want to touch on that, but first I want to acknowledge Jacqueline saying that she's so proud of you, Krystal. And Holly saying, my awesome friend and coworker. Listen, you about to have some. All these people think they're your best friend now. You're getting exposed because I don't. Justin. I think I've heard the story before. Well, it must be good because you're back.
yeah, because it's my husband.
Well, hey, husband. Thank you for joining and watching. Emil says, remember the cameras installed in our classrooms? That's what you were just talking about, that surveilling and things.
No, that's a whole different school situation.
Oh, so this isn't.
That's a
So,
whole nother
so it
toxic
sounds
environment.
like. So it's so crazy because teachers, beyond what I'm hearing you say, it wasn't just you. This is a whole. So what is this, like the principal that's engaging in this type of behavior? Was it the principal that was micromanaging, is what we call,
Oh
your,
yeah.
and that's, micromanaging.
Gaslighting, all of it.
So let's talk about that for a minute. So micromanaging is something that is just disrespectful for professionals. Just so if you're a leader and you're watching this and you find yourself to be a micromanager, you need to reevaluate your decision to be a leader. Because if you can't trust people to do the job that you hired them to do, you're creating more work for yourself as a leader, number one, and you're telling them that you have no faith or confidence in their ability. And there's no way that you can build a collaborative relationship or partnership or trust with anybody who you're telling, I don't have faith in you. So we need to make sure that you're not subjecting yourselves to micromanaging. And what that looks like is people second guessing or questioning every decision you make, or monitoring you when you're doing your job for no reason, no rationale, no justification, or they're just trailing after you. Trust the people to do the job that you've hired them to do. And if you can't do that, reevaluate your interview process, because something you're not catching in the interviewing process that has you hiring people that you cannot trust. So micromanaging is definitely a red flag that you could be in an environment that's not going to be conducive to your health. And I would encourage anybody who's subjected to micromanaging currently, find ways to have conversations with your leader to alleviate that. And we can talk about that on another shows, but there are ways that you can have a conversation to alleviate micromanagement. It is just something you do not do when you've trusted a professional to do a job that you've hired them to do. Gaslighting is another thing that you mentioned, Krystal. Gaslighting is so common that people don't even recognize that they're being gaslit, right? And all it is manipulation of the mind. It's manipulation of the mind, and you cause people to second guess themselves because you're questioning them. That puts them in a position to questioning themselves. So, Krystal, for example, as a teacher, maybe she put up Black history, decorated her door with Black history moments or something like that, and the principal comes to her and says, "You sure you want to use that topic for Black History Month?" Then Crystal's like, well, why wouldn't I want to do that? Like, is there something wrong with that? She begins second guessing her own abilities based on that. That's gaslighting. It's making people question their sanity based off of how you lead them. So, two signs of a toxic work environment is if you're experiencing micromanagement, that could be one. I'm not going to say it's emphatically or definitely one, but gaslighting definitely is one. And Krystal, you've enlightened my eyes to know that this happens to teachers.
It does. Because the same thing you just said, literally, my situation was I had this cute little thing my dad had made. It was like a little stage. I got so much like, oh, do you think you want to do that? Why do you have that? Now, somebody else had that same exact stage in their classroom. They didn't get said anything about it. I also got told like about the fact that I had tables instead of desks. Oh, the tables are too high. You need to move them. I had to do it, but yet I don't have the tools for it. We have people that are supposed to do that. Right. It's little things like that. And you got to realize those little things, they start nitpicking at you. And that's where they do start stressing you out more and more. And also what happened with me, another thing about gaslighting, I think we should like be brought up is sometimes when you do say something, because I did have a conversation, but that made it even worse. Like, so sometimes and then unfortunately I didn't have a supportive HR. Even HR was toxic. Like from high up, even on that, wow. Like it's toxic. So just one thing to kind of expose there too.
Right. Well, Angela said, you're awesome. I'm so glad that you're speaking up and helping others. So remember when we first started, I said I was watching my cousin's YouTube, who's a teacher, and I think your channel came up after. So this is her. She's joined, and she said, "Good evening." And then T. Cedric said something very interesting. You can trust me with students, but not the key to the supply closet. So you mean to tell me you are educating tomorrow's leaders, and you get micromanaged to the point of what supplies you use to do that? That is that normal?
It shouldn't be normal. No, it's not normal. But it is like when you are in a horrible place where you shouldn't be. And here's the thing: I kind of like want to bring this up too. Like, what's toxic to me may not be toxic to the next person. Like the teacher next door to me. Guess what? She's been in this situation. Like one of my closest teacher friends, still there for years and years. Even though it's toxic, it is toxic to her, and I see it. She doesn't see it. So sometimes you got to realize some of your friends you're trying to say, hey, you see that? You see, they won't see it. And that's where you got to realize for yourself, okay, this bottle of toxic whatever is bad for me. It may not be bad for you, but it's bad for me. And you got to let them keep drinking whatever it is.
Right. That's true because so are you saying that your workplace was just, universally toxic, like everybody who was here, or do you believe it was targeted towards certain people?
As a whole, yes, I do. I even think the whole building would. Like, that's just my, like that building.
So it was leadership. So it was a leadership.
I meant like the physical building. Like the building, the people, everything. I think, but also I think you got like it's almost like being in an abusive relationship. Like if you don't know you're being abused after so long, you're like, oh, I thought this is what it's supposed to be. Because if I would have stayed, because part of me wanted to push through, like, because I'm like, I gotta push through. I love my kids. I can't leave my kids. Because that's the thing. They're like, don't leave your kids. Don't leave you're leaving your kids. Like, you're leaving. You say my kids, like they my students. But if I would have done that, like, I could have died. Like, I was so stressed out. Like, my blood pressure was through the roof. So, yeah.
That I just never would have thought teachers went through this, to be honest. I am very surprised. But like we talked about earlier, sometimes they push through because of their heart, because of the students, and one thing you did was show my health and wellness matters. And I can't be the best me for them unless I'm my whole self. And that's what you said that. Like I saw that you said that, and that's what inspired me most, because sometimes we forget your existence and being isn't for the job you work for. Whether you're a teacher, whether you're in corporate, whatever you do, your purpose in living isn't to help somebody else get rich or help somebody else get recognition or help somebody else get fulfilled. And that's what
See,
we
and
do
it
in the
took
work.
me, yeah, yes, and it took me so long because when you're young and out of college, that's all your mind is for. You're like, I don't know, I'm a social worker, I'm a nurse. This is
Mm,
me. Like, especially when you're single and this is all you got to think about, you're so focused on it. And then once you start adding some more things, once you get a boyfriend, you're like, oh wait, work ain't as important. Work can wait. And then that's what I think
mm.
that's where you start realizing, oh, this is how I need to make some boundaries. So
Yes. So Stephanie says, "Wow, this is good insight into a different industry other than my own." I agree, Stephanie, because I'm just still shocked that, because teachers, y'all, they don't pay y'all enough to deal with this. So why would you put them through this? Like that's just the question that runs through my head. Hi Julia, how are you? So she says it's awful when HR team is also toxic. It is, because HR is supposed to be your safe place, your safe space. And one of the reasons why I did plan this unplugged conference is because I had people reaching out to me saying they can't go to their HR because they're for the business, or they don't support me, or they're not for employees. No, that is not the design of HR. So to hear that as your experience is further confirmation that there needs to be more education out there on what that role is. So good point. Julia, just are my favorite, said speak on it, Krystal. Yeah, so Emil says it's not normal, but this particular environment was not normal. I would agree, especially if the building is toxic. Everything is there. And Life with Quita said a great thing. It trickles down because it starts from leadership. It really, leaders are the owner of, what workplace culture, and HR is the gatekeeper of workplace culture. And there is a difference that the roles play, because leaders are the decision makers, right? They set the tone. HR is the gatekeeper to make sure it's being set correctly. When both of those are bad, that's how you end up in toxic work environments. So thank you for that. People treat others how they're being treated, and sometimes they don't realize how wrong. You better preach. You need to come on this show, Life with Quita. That is so true. Hurt people hurt people. I have heard
and
that.
that yes, and that's where I had to even break it down to one of my teacher team. She was like, "Why is she coming after you so much?" I said, "Well, I'm young. I'm a black woman. She's a black woman too, though, my leader. But at the same time, I said, you have to understand. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes sometimes it's a bad culture that happens." She's like, "Can I look that up?" I was like, "Well, not really.
Mm,
It's just something that happens, and it's bad when I have to sit there and explain that to somebody." So,
yes. Justin says not everyone is equipped to be a leader. And Justin, you're so correct, because I don't know if this happens in the world of education, but in the world of corporations, people get promoted because they know how to do a job. But doing a job doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to lead other people in doing it. And a lot of mistakes that we make is elevating people based on function, right? And not leadership abilities or capabilities. So thank you, Justin, for that. Teachers have so many untold stories. I can't imagine. I'm kind of scared to ask. I'm kind of scared to ask. And
and we're
that's
not
right.
allowed to say anything. We're not supposed to say anything. So that's
Well,
another thing.
you have to set healthy boundaries, and that's true. G So chick, that you definitely do. So Krystal, I want to ask. You said that you started confronting, the situation. You started speaking up about it. What are some things that you started doing and saying, and how did, from your perspective, like you said, that backfire against you?
Um, well, I didn't go about it as well as I should have. I wasn't disrespectful. Um, but am I frozen? Okay, there we go. I wasn't disrespectful, but I definitely stated that if I am a teacher that you feel is a one, then maybe I'm not a well equipped teacher for this school. So I definitely, because I was angry at the moment. I wish, in hindsight, I should have thought about it. I should have went through a different process. And I did go. I let emotions control me. So I would say one advice: don't let emotions control you. Like, you got to get a strategic plan. So that, and then I started, like, certain things we were told to do, like little busy work. I would question it. Like, why like, I gotta do this? Like, and then of course I would see the favorites. They didn't have to do it. Or the favorites who have only been teaching 2 years can come and observe me, where I'm not saying I was better, but I was told to come observe my classroom and see what I'm doing. Do you know how that fit? Like, that
With no
kind of just,
explanation. So, was it ever a time, Krystal, when they said, "Hey, Krystal, let me explain to you what we're going to be doing to help you with your development. We've noticed you have these deficiencies, and this is how we're going to support you." Like, was there any conversation to prep you for your peer, rating your performance?
it was a YouTube video I was sent to watch. That was it. Yep, that was a YouTube video for me to watch.
That was
Yeah, and it's another teacher that's like a YouTuber. So no, like, and that's a problem. We gotta, there's just a certain way to talk about it. Maybe like I said, I emotionally I wasn't taking it right. I felt very felt like it was a personal thing, because it was personal. But I think there's just a professional way to go about it. And as a professional, come to me professionally and tell me what I need to work on. If it's classroom management, tell me to go to these different like little conferences or whatever I need to do. I will be more than willing, because I love to learn. So, but that didn't happen.
So, did you think it became personal because you started speaking up and questioning some of the instruction or direction that happened, and then you became a target?
See, because people assume when they first meet, oh, she's so bubbly. Oh my gosh, she's so sweet. No, but you're not gonna walk over me. Like, and that's a problem. Like, they think like, oh, you are so sweet. You love what you do. I can just do whatever I want to do. No, you cannot. You can't do that. I could be both of those. I can still be as sweet as I want to be, but I'm still not gonna let you walk over me, because I love myself enough. So.
Right. Right. So let's see. So there's a lot of chatter going on. So Julia's that is so true. Just because you can do a job doesn't mean that you can lead others. So GSO Chick, that definitely happens in education. There are several persons in leadership positions who they are associated with. So do you think that there is a lot of favoritism and like cliques not in education? No, it can't be.
What? That's the most clicks. What do you mean? The most
Really?
drama happened. Yeah, the best advice I was ever told, and I kind of didn't take it before I went into education. When I did my internship, when the teachers start meeting up in like the hallways and stuff, don't go situate with them. Like, don't go talk to them and stuff, because that's where the mess starts. Now, I didn't always do it, but sometimes I would, and yeah, the drama happens, because you got to think, it's a woman dominated field. Women tend to be messy, so.
So San Kendrick has a good point. Maybe she was, threatened by you because she saw your that you had great potential, and that happens a lot. Sometimes it's like we said, people treat others how they're being treated. Sometimes they're threatened. Wait, you're not going to come here and outshine me. You're not going to question me. All of that, and that happens in everywhere. So great point there, Mr. San Kendrick. But I also want to touch on something. If you believe that you're in a toxic workplace environment, like Krystal was, and you begin to push back or challenge, and then you believe you become the target, let me tell you how to handle that. First, you want to take notes and be very descriptive and detailed with the issue you're going to address, so that, to Krystal's point, you're not going in emotional. So if Krystal obviously was offended because you have someone more junior to me assessing me, which, Lamitra's made a good point. Punitive observations do not equate support, right? But you have them assessing me, and now I'm mad. I'm offended. How's she going to tell me when I've been teaching longer than her, right? So the way that you may have wanted to address that, or anybody experiencing this, is you take a note on, February 16th, I was, observed by such and such and such and such, and start taking notes, so that when you go to address it, you're dealing with facts and not emotion. I'm just trying to understand. Can you help me understand why such and such, who started 4 years after I did, would be the best suitable person to observe me? Was it because you're looking for her to learn from me? Like, ask the questions, but go with the facts, go with the receipts, go with the examples, go with the specifics, and that will help you leave emotion out of it. Okay. So Miss Angela says so many times people so many times are put in leadership positions who shouldn't be and bring the team's morale down. That adds to it definitely does, especially in competitive environments where things are very metric driven and things. Absolutely. So Beth says it's easy for people to take an educator's heart for granted. Wow, that's deep, Beth. I think that is. I think this is why the public doesn't know about these types of situations. They try to do their best to focus on the kids, and then they feel guilty when people speak out. Wow, that has to be a lot of pressure on you as an educator. So if you're watching this, respect an educator's decision not to teach somewhere anymore because you don't know what they could possibly be going through. Don't make them feel guilty, for making a decision that's best for them because they're tasked with teaching other people. That's not right. We shouldn't be doing that. Did you feel that was your experience? Did people judge you, Krystal, for the decision when you made that you made when you decided to leave that place?
Yeah, I did feel very, very guilty. Like it took me like probably a year to just get over like the feeling of like I really failed. Like I failed
Mm,
my students because I knew that they needed someone like me. But at the same time, I'm not sure if I still was the best fit. It's just a whole bunch of different emotions. And people like talk so bad about teachers that leave because I'm in different like Facebook groups and stuff. And they're like, "Oh, you want to leave?" Like it's just because people don't get it. Because sometimes
wow.
some people are in schools where this kind of thing doesn't happen, so they don't understand. So, because like the first school I ever taught at, those teachers stayed like there were teachers in like rooms like 15, 20 years. They're like, yeah, I've never been anywhere else. They've only been in one school. So that I was in like a unicorn type situation in that school, but
Mm,
there were still problems there. There was because those are like more richer parents, more well off parents. So that's a whole nother
mm.
situation, love, that you have to deal with. So when you go to schools that are lower social economic, you deal with the things like this, high turnover, and
So let's talk about that. So, you know, you, did you find in your experience that there is some kind of racial prejudice to certain schools depending on maybe what geography or what kind of neighborhood it's in or what type of student populations attended?
yeah, for sure, for sure. You definitely see a difference. You said, repeat your question one more time. You said,
So,
was there?
is there a difference in the way teachers are treated, like depending on what type of school you support? Like if you support a school that's in a not so great affluent area versus a school that's in an under, privileged area, is there a difference that you've seen?
Yeah, for sure. I think that if you're in a school that's more fluent and more resources, like you and parents that are supporting you, it is different. And then in the situation I was in, like a lot of teachers that come to schools that are in these areas, they don't necessarily always live here necessarily. But I do live closer to mine, but they don't. Sometimes it happens where you don't want to be in the area where you teach or be around that situation because it's a lower socioeconomic. So that
Mm,
it's such a like deep like a situation that it's hard to like break apart because it's
wow.
money, it's race, it's gut, it's all types of things.
Wow. So those are all
So
factors that go into like the culture
it
essentially
does.
of a school. Wow, that I never even we talk about it in corporation all the time, right? I just did our podcast last week was about Google and how there's no black representation, and he was saying how he had escargot sandwiches in the break room for like what So that's interesting that happens in school as well. The parallels are just so crazy to me that you can have a different experience based on where you teach and the economic of surroundings of that school.
Yeah. So because like you don't have many black educators teaching students. Like usually, I mean, I'm like one of like this the school I was in. That's the most well, other than another school I did in Georgia, but like that's the most teachers like African American teachers I've ever taught with. Like that,
Wow.
and it's because we need more African American, diversity and all that in the schools so bad, so bad. And I think that also will help. That's a whole nother situation too. It will help with not putting students in special education just because of their behavior. Like it's just all those things that I think it would trickle down and help. So, like I said, it's a thing. It's a big thing.
Wow. So, Krystal, tell us about how you escaped. Like, what was the last straw for you, and how did you finally make a decision that it's time for me to go?
So I was just talking to this situation about the situation to my friend Lametrius, who's on here. I said, "Do you remember that day I called you? Like, I'll never get a morning. I was so proud of myself. The day before, I had just had an observation, and I know I like did so good. Like my students were on task. They were doing everything they're supposed to do. And here's another thing that's toxic. Here's another key that's very shows you a toxic environment. When you get emails and calls and all that stuff before your for your work time, I got an email at 6 o'clock that morning because I had just finished working out. And I opened that email. I bawled. I cried. It just broke me down. The comments broke me down. It was just like, it dogged me out. Like just basically saying, I'm just crap. Like I just did horrible. So my teacher told me, like, you can't go to work like that. So I never called in unless I was sick or something, but I called in that day. And at that point, I told Justin, I said, Justin, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I said, let's list out all our bills. Let's list out everything we need to pay. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do. That I'm gonna hustle online and start tutoring online and working for multiple companies. I can't do this anymore. And that was February of it may have been February of 2020, and because my last day was the 14th. So and I did that. We planned out the bills. We planned out how we're going to do this, and somehow, some way, we made it through by the goodness of God. But we made it through. It was rough. It was rough, but we made it through.
But your health and wellness was more important. Is that what
for
you?
Sure.
That was wow. That was bold. I mean, because you did it without even a contingency plan, like a job, or anything lined up. And that's what I want to encourage people not to do. Like, don't wait until you're at a breaking point. If you don't pick up anything else from this episode, pick up what to recognize that you're in a toxic work environment. The signs. Now, Krystal just said something very touching. You're not working and they're contacting you off work hours. That is a red flag. That's another red flag. A leader who respects you will respect your time. Especially if you're an hourly person who clocks in and out, they should not be contacting you when you're not being compensated for your time. And if you're not an hourly person and you're a salaried individual, they should be respectful of your time. Somebody said earlier, you have to set boundaries as teachers. You have to set boundaries in any job. Because when you don't, that's when they find it appropriate to use you at their disposal. And so the fact that they started contacting you at 6 o'clock in the morning or before your shift starts or what have you, I mean, enough was enough. And what did you learn from this experience, Krystal? What learnings do you take away from standing up for yourself and taking control of your situation?
I learned that, you can be a light and you are a light, right? And usually if you are a light and you have a purpose, sometimes people are going to feel like it's their assignment to shut it down. Because literally, I knew in my heart that I was an educator, right? But that situation literally wanted me to, I was looking into going to psychology, something, never ever going in back teaching, but knowing that that's what I love. Like, I think if I go into anything else, I still would have ended up teaching somehow, some way. So I learned that you can't let people have control over you. You cannot let people have that piece of you. Like, if I could go back, like, if I was the person I am today, I definitely could survive that situation. But, I grew from it. But at the same time, I just, if someone's in that situation right now, I would tell you, take your time, write it down, write down everything you need to do, write down your emotions, write down how you're feeling, because what you feel is important and what you feel is real, because you're going to start trying to psych yourself out about it, but what you feel is real and what you feel is important, and you are valuable.
So
much more valuable than that job.
Don't devalue yourself. Don't put a job before you, and validate your feelings.
Yes.
And that's how you can escape. That's how you escaped, basically. And you survived. You made a way. So what are you doing now? Tell us about a little bit about what you're doing. Are you still teaching? Did you just give up on the kids altogether?
No, I did not give up on the babies, even though I was ready. So, I was doing job interviews and all this stuff, and I finally got a position working with Connections Academy, which is a online school. So I teach students all across Arkansas. I taught third grade my first year, and this year I'm trying out special education. So I wanted to
Wow.
kind of challenge myself. It's been a big challenge, but I love it. I love challenging myself and learning more things about education. So
So you stuck to where your heart was with
I
the
did.
students. So we have a teacher says I once worked at a school where I was observed every week and expected to show improvements in my deficient areas. I kept all those observations as a reminder of the work environment I came from, and that's a good call because sometimes you need those reminders to remind you of what you never want to go back to, or to remind you of what you will not be if you ever get in that leadership capacity to lead somebody like you. Those reminders are so critical. So that is great advice. The things that trigger or that were those deal breakers for you, hold on to those as reminders of where you came from and what you won't go back to. Great advice there. And Heather says, and she is amazing, and we are so lucky to have her. Look at that. And listen,
That's my
Heather.
supervisor.
Listen, Heather, I need to interview you because I need more leaders who can recognize the value that the employees do bring to the organization. And what you said was just amazing, Krystal. So just know that you are still making a difference in students' lives and taking care of yourself at the same time. And you're brave and courageous for doing that. And so as we wrap up, I know there's a lot of teachers on here. So, if anybody wants to share any resources that they use or where they go to as a teacher to get encouragement or just to know I can make it through the day. I know it's tough, but I got students. I can't just stop right now, mid today. But what was your resource to use to keep you empowered? I'm assuming it was your circle of friends because you talked about people that you went to. But what was your resource, Krystal, that kept you moving? And if there are any teachers that are watching in the comments, chat about what do you do? What books have you read? What podcasts do you listen to? Or what YouTubes do you subscribe to that help you get through or even relate to other teachers who might be feeling like you're feeling? So what did you do, Krystal?
So aside from my family and my friends, of course, for sure, my faith in God and reading the Bible, like definitely. But I'll tell you what organization, professional organization I'm a part of is Black Girls Teach. And
Okay.
some of them are on here. Shout out to them. So I this organization is for Black educators. We needed a space. So Deidre, she's a leader. She is the owner of Black Girls Teach, and she does an amazing job of having various subjects every month just for us to work on. And we have we're on Mighty Network, so we do we have like a Facebook, but specifically for us, and it has been a lifesaver. So that's one my little plug for Black Girls Teach.
Black Girls Teach. Wow. Okay. Um, so you found a resource, a network of other teachers that you met through this Black Girls Meet or Teach organization, and that's been a comfort place for you, a comfort
Yes.
space for you. Wow. So Lemetria says, man, the liquor store. But seriously, relying on my circle. Man, your circle is going to be critical. You're going to need that circle, especially a circle of influence and a circle of energy, not negative energy. If you have a circle that's pulling on you and draining you too, that's not the right circle. But truly, Lemetria, I agree. A circle is definitely one way to get through family, friends, and definitely the word. If you're a believer, cannot go wrong with the word and strengthen your relationship with God and reading the Bible and the scriptures because then you'll know he won't put more on you than you can bear. And that will help you get through the situation just that much more. So Nicole says, you are amazing, Krystal. You inspire me daily. Aw. Thank you, Nicole,
That's my
for that.
principal. That's my
Look,
principal.
I,
That was so
I,
sweet to support me.
I might need to do an episode with Heather and Nicole so they could tell other educator leaders this is how you take care of a team, right? Because they're doing a great job. Um, so we have a question. So how can I join Black Girls Teach, and is it open to teachers nationwide? Do you have
Yeah.
information on that?
Yeah. So you can it's on Instagram, Black Girls Teach. She has a link in the at the top, and it has all the instructions you need. There's like a different like a space where like different time where you can sign up, but long as you are a black teacher, a woman of color, or black teacher, you can sign up. So if you need, you can reach out to me too, and I can help you and get all the ins and outs of it.
So you have to be a teacher, right, to join it, or
Educator, like because there's teacher, there's leaders, there's teacher leaders.
okay.
So I mean, LaShawn, I mean, you're kind of a teacher.
Uh, let me see if I can find it on here. So while we're talking about that, I'm going to tell people how they can stay in touch with you, and one of them is your Instagram. So let me show them your Instagram. So please feel free to connect with Krystal. She is on Instagram. If you want to know more information about Black Girls Teach, you can find it on Instagram or just connect with her. Look at this. Virtual SPT teacher advocate for. Okay, so you have a lot of other stuff going on, but really and truly connect with her, ask her questions, build your network and community of support. Even if you're not going through a toxic work environment right now, it always doesn't hurt to connect with people so that in the unfortunate event that you do, you have resources and you have people who understand and can relate to what you're going through. So y'all connect with Krystal. I'm connected with Krystal on here. So just make sure you connect with her. And Krystal also has a YouTube channel. And this is her YouTube channel. And this is where I initially saw her first story about her teaching experience and how it was toxic. So go subscribe to her YouTube channel. Krystal has stated that she's going to do more videos. She's going to actually start doing more videos in the upcoming weeks. And she'll be talking about different things that could be relevant to teachers. So I'll have her share a little bit more about that. But definitely find ways to connect with her if you have any questions about today's episode, or if you have any questions about teaching experience in general, or any type of resources that are available for her or for you, connect with her. So tell us about your YouTube channel, Krystal. What could they expect to see?
So, I mean, since becoming a mom, that it has like opened up a whole new world for me. So, definitely want to, hey, Ashley, want to just share about my experience as a mom, but as a teacher, as a wife, just life in general. Cause like, I mean, my life is never boring. So I definitely want to like just share different stories. And just uplift, because I realize a lot of people just need to have a little uplifting story or uplifting word. So, and I feel like
Yeah.
that is a gift that I have. So I definitely want to use it.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that you used it tonight with us. I can definitely say you brought awareness for me, and you've inspired me with your courage. And a lot of people feel the same way because they've chimed in and talked about how amazingly awesome you are. So I'm just so appreciative, and we're so grateful that you shared your story, and with us tonight. And everybody over here, I mean, Sam says excellent job, Krystal. I mean, everybody agrees, Krystal. I know that this isn't easy to do. It's not always easy telling your story because you open yourself up for judgments, you open yourself up for criticism. But thankfully, you are surrounded with a great circle. Ashley says, I enjoyed working with you. You're a positive push for her. You were a positive push for her at that time. So whatever time frame you guys had together, you helped her. So I know it has to be inspiring to know that you've helped so many people, and you have people like Nicole and Heather now that you're connected to. And if anybody ever, look, I'm gonna do a little plug for them since they were so encouraging for you on here. If they're interested in exploring your employer, where should they go to express that interest? Maybe they're in a toxic situation and they're looking for an outlet as well. Are you guys hiring? Do you know if y'all are hiring? And if so, can you share, how they can maybe go and see if there's an opportunity for them there?
So good point. Good thing is Connections Academy is nationwide. So
Okay.
there's one in Georgia, there's one in Alabama. So definitely just type in Connections wherever you are. As far as us, I don't think we're hiring just yet. But
Okay.
keep your ear out if you're in Arkansas.
All right. All right. So Connections Academy, you said?
Yes, Connections
Okay.
Academy.
Connectionsacademy.com is another outlet, another resource if you are a teacher and you're looking for another option to escape a toxic work environment that you might be in. You know, we don't like you to leave away from this podcast without taking something with you. So hopefully you guys all learned something tonight. And Krystal, we thank you so much for joining. We are at the end of the show. But your experience and your inspiration and your story was all necessary to shed light on what teachers are going through. And, you know, just having a new respect. I've already respected teachers, but a new respect for teachers, because you guys mirror a lot of what we go through in the in the private sector. So that was very enlightening. We have a lot of people that said great talk, great job, excellent show, great interview. Enjoyed the interview. So Krystal, just rest, know that you did well for us tonight. And we really appreciate you. So I'm going to have you go backstage while I close out the show. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you guys for joining tonight. And just the key takeaways: if you are in a toxic work environment right now and you're looking for your escape plan, you do have options, okay? Number one, you can go to www.thehrplug.com and schedule a 30-minute free consultation to talk through your situation and strategize some solutions that could potentially help you either endure, overcome, or exit. You always want to have an exit strategy if you're looking to exit an organization, and we can help you with that. Two, understand what the red flags are for a toxic work environment. We talked about it on the show tonight, but some of the examples we mentioned were they contact you off hours or after hours, when you're not working, or they micromanage you, right? Everything, all of a sudden, what you're doing is being questioned. You're being observed way too much. Your performance ratings are dropping for no reason without any coachings or conversations that help you grow or support. You believe you're being gaslit, right? Or manipulated to believe, question, or doubt your own abilities based on that leader that you're under. Make sure you recognize these things and know it's not normal and it's not okay. You should never compromise your own health or well-being for the sake of somebody else, whether that's an employer or whether that's whatever that is, or a job. Don't sacrifice yourself. You matter. You're a valuable asset and you mean a lot to somebody. And just know that if you are fired from that job, you will be replaced instantaneously. So don't go killing yourself for a job, because people who you can't be replaced to will hurt. So take care of yourself. Get resources, gather with a circle of people who can help you get through it. But there are so many things you can do other than enduring abuse or toxic work environment. So remember who you are, maintain your value, and let us know that if you have any questions. And I thank you guys for joining and supporting the HR Plug. I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this channel if this was content that was helpful for you. And if you want to support us and help us grow, subscribe and you'll get notified when we go live. You'll get notified when I post a new video, because I try to touch all industries. Tonight was teachers, but it was also relatable to people who aren't teachers as well. So if you enjoyed this content, please make sure you subscribe and tell somebody who you know could benefit from this information to subscribe as well. I thank you all for your time, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening until next week, when we're going to be talking about FMLA and how to use it for your own mental well-being. So make sure you tune in next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the HR Plug YouTube channel. Take care.